Good evening.
Good evening.
For the first time in a little while, which is, I suppose, where I should start this, because you'll have noticed, if you've seen the name of this particular video, that this is a highly unusual entry into this strange catalogue of videos, because it's about 2 episodes, because I hadn't done a conversation about Town Called Mercy. I can't remember if it's called Town Called Mercy. And we watched that weeks ago. End of the summer holidays, obviously a busy time, things been going on. And then finally we sat down to watch the next episode, which of course is The Power of Three. So you get a double whammy today. But I think the fact there's been such a delay, both in talking about Town Called Mercy and watching the episode after that, perhaps speaks to something that's kind of been on my mind about this era of Doctor Who, and hopefully not the rest of Doctor Who, which is, weirdly, perhaps for the first time ever, and this even includes the really dark, crappy days of the classic series when, you know, there were some really poor stories. I've been struggling sort of to get my dander up about talking about some of these stories. And I hope that hasn't come across in the conversations, because I love doing these videos and it's good fun, and, you know, I know that only 3 people watch them, but that's not the point. But I'm curious as to why I have felt that way. Why is it that I have felt that way about talking about some of these stories? And I came to the conclusion, sort of quietly on my own, that maybe, I really hesitate to say this, maybe we've just passed the point where it stops being my Doctor Who and just starts being Doctor Who.
Yeah, now it's the kids' Doctor Who.
Well, that's the thing. Is this the point where I became just like one of those old fans? I mean, I am an old fan, but I've always prided myself on being resolutely positive all the time about Doctor Who, because I think, why wouldn't you be?
Boomer.
A Doctor Boomer. And I'm wondering, is this the moment where I just stopped? It's like, oh God, this is a weird analogy. It's like when you watch wrestling, and there's a point when you watch wrestling where you know that wrestling's fake, and you know all the background and all the nonsense, and it kind of makes it harder to enjoy it. Maybe this is the point where I just tipped over. I don't know. It worries me. But let's assume for the moment that it's not. Okay? Because I love Doctor Who. I love all Doctor Who. I love everything that's to come, even though it doesn't exist yet, because that's the rules of what we're doing. I love it all, and I will gleefully talk about it. But there's a sense of detachment. And I'm trying to think, if it's not this, you know, passing of the torch moment type thing, what could it be that causes that detachment? I have a couple of theories. I love Moffat's Who. I think Moffat's a genius. But there is something about it that's quite jigsaw-y, in so much as that you watch the pieces fall into place, and it's like such a satisfying thing when the pieces fall into place. But there's perhaps an element of cold logic there. Maybe that's not intrinsically the Doctor Who that sits most comfortably with me. Maybe the fact that RTD espouses that version of Doctor Who where it's all heart, whether or not that makes sense narratively, and that kind of, even though emotionally RTD's Doctor Who is much more mature, that's kind of what Doctor Who used to be. And so things like, let's say, for example, your last Tom Baker season. Do I love Tom Baker's last season as much as I love his first season, his second season? No, I don't. Because I think Tom Baker's first and second season ring more true to what Doctor Who is than his last season does, generally. Obviously, they're all part of a thing. So maybe it's that. Individually, I love Moffat's stories, but taken en masse, perhaps there's a remove there for me. And there's another reason I think that it might be. I'm kind of hoping that it is. This will be tested soon. Which is, I find, although I love, and I maintain, Matt Smith, Amy and Rory, one of the top TARDIS teams. But as their story progresses, and they've got this weird double life, home and Doctor, Well, we've not really done that before. We've nudged at it with, with all of DT's companions, to be fair. But there's always been a sense that there's a period of time that they travel with the Doctor, and then after that, for whatever reason, they don't. Because that's the nature of travelling with the Doctor. And this sort of having your cake and eating it version of the relationship with the Doctor, it doesn't quite sit right with me. So this sort of mini season that we've got going on, where we had all the upset about are they going to get a divorce in Asylum of the Daleks, and no, they're not going to divorce, and then he needs a crew together, so he'll get Amy and Rory plus some other people. That's not quite the template for Doctor Who that rings true. When the Doctor travelled with Sarah, well, you got the feeling that was what they were doing, and then if they just stumbled back on Earth, they'd stick around for a bit and she'd do a bit of journalism, but then it's off again because that's what she's doing at that point. That's like her job, for want of a better word. So that setup doesn't quite stretch it weirdly, even though it's probably a more realistic interpretation of what would happen if you would travel with the Doctor. It doesn't work for me. Anyway, be that as it may. I'm hoping that over the next few, obviously we've got something big coming not too far away. And after that, all sorts of bits and bats will kick in. So we'll see. But I'll keep you posted on that. I hope it's not. I really hope that there'll be a point where I'm just like gushing and just completely overwhelmed by it again. And we'll see. Anyway, let's talk about the stories. Town Called Mercy. I really enjoyed Town Called Mercy. I think that whole moral dilemma for the Doctor thing, we've touched on it a number of times before. Matt Smith, a great candidate for that. I love the cowboys, the Western setting. Amy and Rory, great fun in it. It was a stand-up episode. Really good. Really good. Good to really good. And like I say, viewed individually, just proper good fun. So that's fine. Anyway, it was Power 3 today, and I'd not seen this for ages. Now, again, when you know the workings of something too well, it can somewhat take away some of the magic. So it's always befuddled me where Stephen Burkoff's only in this for like seconds. It's Stephen pissing Burkoff. This guy...
Who's Stephen Burkoff?
Stephen Burkoff, for anybody who studied drama... is quite a notorious actor, very, very idiosyncratic. He wrote an interpretation of Franz Kafka's Metamorphosis, which was staged quite routinely and drama students would study. I saw him on stage doing Salome, Oscar Wilde's Salome, and it was a very powerful thing. But Stephen Burkoff, in the right circles, is quite a big name. He does not much in this.
Who does he play in it, though?
Well, exactly. He plays the bad guy at the end, the alien on the ship that sort of half talks the Doctor. And I feel as if there's been some weird editing going on there, because it really felt like whatever was supposed to happen there gets cut down hard, like really hard. Anyway, she'll let that be. Maybe I'm imagining that, but I'm sure there's a story there to come out at some point. Anyway, by the by. You could see this as a sort of reverse tread of The Lodger, can't you? And I think a lot of the silly fun of it is from those moments. And the way that pulls against Amy and Rory, the fact that you got Brian in there as well.
I love Brian.
I love Brian. Absolutely brilliant character. Feels different in this story. Really different in this story. And that's another strange thing. Jackie Tyler... always felt Jackie Tyler. Even when Jackie Tyler was in, let's say, Love and Monsters, and there was that tangible moment where...
Even when Jackie Tyler was the cyborg side of things.
When she was in Loomis's, yeah, brilliant. That's not the case here.
Marky Smith.
I'm not... yeah, she's like the fall of Doctor Who. That's not the case here with Brian. It's really quite strange. I mean, Mark Williams is a great actor, and I think that there's some conscious decisions being made here. But... yeah, that kind of tugs against my credulity here. Something doesn't quite ring true. Now, is that a Chibnall thing? Because it's a Chibnall script. We shall talk more about him later. Is that a directorial thing? Is there a sense in Moffat's era of Doctor Who that the reins aren't being held quite as tightly as they were in RTD's era of Doctor Who, for good and for ill, because it allows stories to go on individual paths, on individual journeys, and I've said before, if Doctor Who doesn't push, then it doesn't get anywhere. But there was always a consistency with RTD's Doctor Who. Not necessarily in quality, although I do think that's the case. I think the highs are probably higher with Moffat, but it's undeniably true that the lows are significantly lower with Moffat. So that's an interesting thing to think about, isn't it? Maybe you don't have a Collinson there, pulling everything together from story to story to story. Anyway, be that as it may. I think that aside from my issues with the sort of weird relationship that's going on now, which I consider to be a weird relationship in Doctor Who terms, I do think that the whole Amy Rory Doctor relationship is brilliant. You know, the way they perform those bits is here. All the silliness with the, the Zygon stuff, that's all good fun. But it does lend itself to quite a piecemeal story. It does feel quite set-piecey, and the conceit of it going across a whole year perhaps doesn't hold together quite as well as you would want it to. But where we're leading here is, screw all that. We've just met the Brigadier's daughter, and she's called Kate Lethbridge-Stewart, and she's flipping awesome. And
She looks so young.
And she looks so young. And can I have her in Doctor Who forever, please? Because maybe not at first blush, and maybe this is me breaking the rules because we know where Kate's going to go. But this, oh yes, I like this. I like this an awful lot. I like the idea that she's a scientist who is playing the military game rather than a soldier who's playing the sciencey game. That is a lovely line development in the Lethbridge-Stewart family. Yeah, there's a genuine warmth and affection there. That honestly is the most exciting thing about this story. And that sounds really weird because we've had a number of attempted let's do units, but it needed the Brigadier or a Brigadier, and we haven't got a Brigadier, but we're going to have, yeah, I'm not even said the next best thing. We've got our Brigadier, although I've just stated that maybe this is not my Doctor Who. I'm confused now. But the fact I'm so excited about seeing, you know, the Brigadier's daughter, yeah, bring that on. Yes, please, more of her. Let's hope she crops up again in about 6 stories' time. So listen, yes, is The Power of Three a brilliant Doctor Who story? No. Town Called Mercy is probably better, but on the flip side, is The Power of Three giving me the feels because there's more of a DNA of old Doctor Who in there? Is this what's leading me down the path of thinking that is it just the sort of Doctor Companion setup? Is it because it's pushing so far at the edges of what Doctor Who's traditionally been that I'm starting to feel a little bit uncomfortable with it? Of course, we've got lots more Moffat to go, and he's going to do a lot more experimentation, and I applaud that just because it makes me feel out of place, perhaps. That doesn't necessarily mean that's the wrong thing to do. I am a Doctor Who boomer. What was the phrase? Dr. Boomer.
Dr. Boomer.
Dr. Boomer. Then fine, that's our new phrase. And if that is the case, then forget me. I'm not important. Go and find somebody younger to talk to about how Matt Smith, by the way, who I still think is a sublime doctor. Just to wrap this up, and just as a postscript, I don't think I am a Dr. Boomer. And the reason I don't think I'm a Dr. Boomer is this, because in Doctor Who magazine this month, by the way, which I have a letter in, I just wanted to put that out there now. There we go. Fiercely edited, but that's okay. There's a massive interview with Jodie Whittaker, and she's talking about the scene that she filmed with Shooty, and I nearly cried reading it. And I nearly cried reading it because even though I, well, you will hear my opinions of Jodie Whittaker's tenure as the Doctor, and you will hear in full my opinion of her as a Doctor. But let me just say this. Jodie Whittaker is just such a fantastic Doctor Who person now. And her talking so gushingly about my programme and how much it now means to her got me in all the feels. So I'm not a Dr. Boomer. I will now refute
You
the term.
protest too much.
Maybe I do protest too much. Maybe I'm just hoping to hold on to my youth. That is fine. Anyway, c'est la vie. My kids, or at least one of them, doesn't know what happens in the next episode. There will be tears. Farewell.